The power of Christ compels you. Hello, everyone. Good to see you tonight. Center of Light Foundation. We're the tribe. We're the nation. Om Sri Sai Ram Gurudeva Datta. Hello, everyone. I want to check the feeds. I want to make sure. Helps to relax me, ease my technological tension. I see some Winfield in here. Hello, Rena. Hello, Lynn Marie. Rena says, hello, everyone. I'm going to give her a care poke for sure. Keith, glad you're on tonight. I have missed you. Rena, I always miss you. You're just lovely to me, as Lynn Marie. Everyone, welcome to Center of Light Foundation. Tonight we are speaking about the greatest world teacher, greatest, meaning the most popular, greatest, equally, AAA insurance, assurance. Jesus, take the wheel. There's a difference between Jesus, take the wheel and Jesus, take the wheel because I'm lazy. I don't want to do the work. So, Jesus, take the wheel. It's all on you, Jesus. Giving poor Jesus, so to speak, another cross to bear. Yours. Jesus, take the wheel in the form of surrender. I strongly suggest that we all do. But when it's Jesus is in absolute control of everything, oh my God, you don't know what you would do for Jesus, take the wheel. The Lord helps those who help themselves. And when we pray to Jesus, or any deity for that matter, with no self-responsibility involved, in fact, it's the platform from which you launch yourself from in your prayers, you can expect your supplication to be denied. When we pray with no self-responsibility, we can expect, we should, doesn't matter which one we choose, the supplication will be denied. It's another level of playing victim. I don't want to bear this mess, so let me give it on the one that I guess that's bore it all. It's time we take Jesus down from the old rugged cross that has been taken care of 2,000 plus years ago. Do we not realize that the lamb has been sacrificed then for our liberation now? It's over. It's over. It's never really not been over, but this is the human dance of how things have played out and still playing out on the earth plane. It's the drama. It's the story. It's the story or the glory. I choose the glory. And what gets my goat or grinds my gears, when I look out and about, I think that's my brother Louis Machi. I felt him come in stronger than the wind. What grinds my gears is people just chugging Jesus' name around like it doesn't, in their hoping and in their way that they've been grown up to see things and how they think things are. They just unconsciously throw his name out as this magic wand and he's just going to take care of all your troubles. Give it to baby Jesus. It doesn't work that way. Jesus' life was to empower all of us to become his sibling exactly like him. Om Sri Sai Ram Gurudeva Datta. Om Sri Sai Ram Gurudeva Datta. Om Sri Sai Ram Gurudeva Datta. Unfold inside of all of us exactly what you got to do for all of us. We are all due for something. And it's some baby Jesus. Tonight is AAA. Insurance. In. Assurance. It's going to happen if you let it. Jesus, take the wheel. That's the deal. What is AAA? Insurance. Acceptance. Which a lot of people in any religious movement But I'm speaking tonight specifically about certain sects of Christianity. They chew on one side of their mouth and they speak out of the other. No judgment. It's a fact of the matter. What is AAA? Insurance, assurance, Jesus take the wheel. AAA, acceptance of all people. And that particular sect, creed, code, aspect of any religion, but tonight I'm specifically speaking about certain sects of Christianity. Not as I know better, but I know better for myself by how it feels. AAA, acceptance, allowance, and appreciation. Acceptance. I accept you, my Muslim brother or sister, just as you are. Many sects of many religions have a problem with said things about others who are not simply like them. AAA insurance, assurance. For us to actually allow ourselves to surrender in the right way so that Jesus can take the wheel. Acceptance. I accept you as you are. And I am. A true Christian, even though your way is not like mine, I think it's gorgeous that you don't act or behave like me and are not like me. I respect the diversity and the beauty of you and celebrate your life, because when we make fun of other people, criticize and or judge, because the Lord lives in everyone, we are making fun, criticizing and or judging the Lord. That is the sword that Jesus came with. It's the words. You take the S of the word sword and put it in the back, it becomes words. So tonight we are speaking about acceptance of all people, allowance of all people. I allow you to do what you need to. I don't have to like it. It's not about you liking it. It's about you accepting it. And then when you get beyond those two tiers, beyond all these tiers, we begin to appreciate such diversity. This is the way of the Christ. Christ, not only hear me, feel me. One moment, I want to change something. I think that'll do it. Christ is not Jesus. Jesus became the Christ. When we take something of the majesty to the level that the Christ actually is and bring it into a vessel that's only, let's say Jesus was 6 foot tall, and we confine it to a 6 foot tall human male being, we are actually taking the glory of God itself and squashing and compressing it into this 6 foot tall male being. That is not what Christ is. Jesus became the Christ, which is everything. For without the Christ, nothing could exist, not even Jesus himself. It's about understanding the truth that has been so manipulated, translated, perverted, skirted all around. This may sound like a picking on you if you're such a one. It's not. It's not a picking on you. It's a lifting of you and myself as I do this presentation. Jesus, take the wheel. It is definitely about surrender. Not only when things are dark, please take this problem from me, which your deity will do, provided me, we, you, are in it to win it, always, even when things are good. Again, if you are praying without any self-responsibility, no matter to what deity, you can expect your supplication to be denied. I'm going to look in the room again. Mary Dawn Payford's in the house. Payford. I think it's Pafford because there's 2 F's. Rhonda Little. Hi, Rhonda. Lynn Marie, Joe Sugar's in the house. And it is Louis Mache. Lynn says the word is intention. The feeling of Jesus is attention to the source. You don't get any better than that. Rhonda says, is that your energy I am feeling? As I'm feeling yours, we are here together, feeling this experience. Tonight is Center of Light AAA. Insurance, assurance, Jesus take the wheel. Here we go. Do you realize what you have done? You have incarnated into a world of density, darkness, and chaos, only to be a part of transforming it into one of fluidity, light, and order. And you are still doing it by offering all that you are to it. Very well played, my friend. I am such a one who choose the something beyond anything that will lead me to everything. What does it feel like to go through this process? Speaking for me, if I can be an example of where I'm at and what's been happening and shifting with me on many different levels. It's like you are being turned inside out. Jesus, take the wheel. No better time to call. Jesus, take the wheel. It's like you're being turned inside out. You can feel a furnace begin to ignite within. You can call that the Sacred Heart of the Christ. Think about the Sacred Heart. It's on fire. There is a huge drive in you. This is what it's like to go through this process. There's a huge drive in you looking to fulfill purpose. You don't what? There's a misprint, so I'm gonna just glaze right over that. You come to experience what you thought was you beginning to die. And what you really are is being birthed or rebirthed. And in your leveling up and of your knowing all of what I just shared with you, you will know it's true simply by how you feel. So you see, it's not about being a good person to unite with the divine or God. It's about doing the work and not expecting Jesus and burdening him with your problems. It will never happen. It's not about being a good person to unite with the divine. It's about doing the work of dissolving your karmic darkness, which stems from the incessant yapping of the monkey. The Lord helps those who help themselves. Tonight's presentation, AAA, Jesus Take the Wheel, is for those who claim only one deity. It's for everyone, including myself. But it's really catering to sharing, caring, praying for those who are staunch in this belief that there's only one deity that can save them and the world, and that there is no other. A friend of mine recently posted this meme post in a Facebook story, and it said, let me read it so I can get it right the first time. It's not unloving to say that Jesus is the only way to heaven, but it is unloving to say that there is no other way to get to heaven except through Jesus. That sounds pretty unloving to me and arrogant, that I'm right. So, Buddhist, Muslim, Hindi, Jainism, Jewish, Zoroastrianism, Sikhism, you're all wrong. And in this I am right position, you have separated yourself from the rest of humanity. This boat will not float very much longer in this time we're living in the greatest time of human history. It's my way. You have separated yourself from the kingdom, literally, of God itself in this way. Because the kingdom is about the serving, love all, serve all of all people. you have missed the boat. Michael rowed the boat ashore. Hallelujah. Milk and honey on the other side. What is this pride of yours? I know where it comes from. No one is judging you. No one wants to smite and or smash you. Do you not realize that in such a posture, you are hurting other people, namely yourself? I am going to express what I mean more about this, a little more kid gloves, in a talk kind of way. I'm going to play a audio for you a little bit about the delivery of such a posture, belief system, and how it can affect you and the people you really care about that's all around you. Just simply be open to a new way. It's not excluding your deity whatsoever. In fact, it's exalting them beyond levels we can ever or have ever allowed ourselves to do, in fact. But it's all inclusive. It's all about inclusion. Always about inclusion. That is the fusion that gets us out of the confusion that we've been in. Are you familiar, if you are one who has read the King James Version of the Bible? You don't have to believe me. In fact, don't believe me. Look it up yourself. The King James Version of the Bible, authorized by King James. Open up the book. After about however many pages into it, you will see authorized by King James. Who is King James to be authorizing any scriptural text at all? Are you familiar with the Council of Nicaea? Look it up. It's an event that took place in human history in the late 300s. That a calling of all the potential books of the Bible, the Apocrypha, and some of them now the canon, and all the different books that didn't make it in, because on Sunday, on May 21st, whatever the date was, all these cardinals and bishops and writers and scribes, make sure you're there early, seats will fill up quick. Bring yourself something to drink, we're going to be here for a while. So the Council of Nicaea happened in the late 300s to prove or disprove, to come to a consensus that Jesus was either man or divine. Of course, they give us our book and say he was both. So many translations, translation after translation, it was all ejected. Much of it. Look it up. Look within yourself and to discover what the Christ is. Christmas, the Christ Mass, you, me, and we. So for those who have not been privy to the information I just shared about the King James Version of the Bible, that it was authorized by a king of England. We know about a lot of the royalty, I'm not going to use that word. A lot of those who lived in castles on a big chair they call thrones. We know the way of that history. It's old world doctrine, it's old world hat. Squash, 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 flat, flat, flat. Everything that goes against anything that will relinquish my tyranny. For those who follow any particular sect of Christianity that this may be applicable, this is going to sting, and it's not my intention to sting you. It's going to sting by fact alone. If you are a staunch follower of any sect of Christianity that will throw that King James Version Bible at anyone for violating such code and or doctrine, do you know that the very book that you profess to hit people with, if you will, has been authorized by someone who was a homosexual? Do you know that? That's not a judgment on my part, and it does not take away from the validity of the solid word of Christ within it. But knowing that, now what are you going to do with the said book that you profess is the highest order? Doesn't mean that there's not order in the highest nature contained within it. I'm asking you a very simple question. There are other translations of the Bible, the Old World Translation, many different ones. And it's not to take you away from your said roadmap. I'm just asking you simply, how diverse, how well endowed, how learned are you in the history, the real history of your deity and his, her, its walk, talk, code, creed, sect? Are you invested? Are you living your AAA allowance, acceptance, allowance, and appreciation of other people? And you say, Jesus, take the wheel. Jesus will never take control of your life. You have to at least have your hand on the steering wheel, so that when you look in your rear view mirror, you see the reflection of Lord Christ, which is yourself. So my sharing this truth of Christian history with you was for the sake of that purpose only. I'm not asking you to no longer read the King James Version of your Bible, but it just takes someone who is planted within themselves to filter out anything that is of nonsense and begin to wonder, why does this aspect of this particular verse feel so incomplete to me? It may be complete because it's a period. Next thought. But why does it feel vague, left over? Likely because lots was extracted and removed, and a lot of it redacted and acted upon consciously, so you don't know the truth about who you are. The Council of Nicaea, look it up. King James, well, it's a homosexual. God bless him. He liked men. How does that affect me? I really don't care. But for those who do care, it should affect you because it goes against what you believe as true doctrine itself. Tonight is Center of Light AAA. Acceptance, allowance, and appreciation of all people. No matter who you are, any walk, talk of any religion. If you're canceling out other cultures, you cancel culture on you, you are not on the highest path just yet. You can bet. Jesus take the wheel honestly, sincerely means, I don't know what to do in this situation. Take this from me. It means I don't know what to do in this situation. Empower me. And then you have the forces of the universe, earth, water, fire, air, space. That is called the Lord. We give it different names. Will step in and alter your experience. Video audio number 1. Your gift of power and freedom. This is from Homecoming, Crossing the Bridge to the Soul, also known as the Divine Principle Anchoring Heaven on Earth, about the life of Jesus. How do we begin to understand what that really was, is, and forever shall be? Your gift of power and freedom from your Lord.
As you become more aware of your divinity, you will begin to see that global change begins with you alone, that you can affect the way things happen. Through the manner in which you live and by the standards you set, people will have the opportunity to see what a higher life looks like. Christ Jesus was a prime example of supreme living during his time upon earth. By living a life of righteousness and peace, he was able to make a powerful impact and a profound difference. Some 2,000 years later, his life is still the standard. He is still the truth, the hope, the light, and the way. His teachings have inspired countless millions to live a pure and love-filled life, thus creating the energy needed for the whole world to shift. Jesus searched for God his entire early life, walking the land believing he was only a messenger. But as an adult, when he visited the Himalayan monasteries, he learned from the masters who lived there to seek God within himself. And he came to the realization that the external world was only a kaleidoscope picture interpreted by his own mind. His pilgrimage was a great success in that it helped him to realize that he was no longer just a messenger of God, but was now the Son of God. I am in my Father, ye in me, and I in you. John 14:20. When Jesus stood upon the hill and spoke to the multitude, the young teacher offered great wisdom, but few believed his words. In fact, many shouted, "Are you the Messiah? If you are truly the Messiah, then perform a miracle for us." Because of their doubt and fear, people did not realize that the miracle was already there, in the form of Jesus. He was there to inform them about their own freedom, their divine nature, and the fact that, indeed, they were no different from him. Can you see how many people missed their window of opportunity to reach spiritual liberation because they doubted that he was the Christ? I'm sure you can, but why didn't they listen? Because Jesus appeared to be an ordinary man like everyone else. But soon enough, no one could deny his extraordinary presence. You may ask, once people believed that he was who he said he was, why didn't they follow him then? Because soldiers, using brute force if necessary, were regularly deployed to bring to a halt all the rabble-rousing that seemed to happen wherever he went. But despite all adversity, Jesus pushed on till the very end. When that day came, Jesus accepted his death freely, thus showing those around him how such an event is not the end of life, but only a transition to another level of being, the infinite and immortal change of the Atma, the Spirit. From dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. Genesis 3:19. In the centuries since Jesus' ascension, most have focused on his death instead of his life and his afterlife. People still seek him on the cross, but he's no longer there. As long as people continue to be bound to that image, they cannot begin to understand the crucifixion metaphor. If you want to be a true follower of Christ, you must take him down from that old rugged cross and move on with your life if you happen to be one of these people with this kind of view. We must begin to understand that the Lamb was sacrificed then for our liberation now. Let me ask you a question. Does the fact that most in his time doubted that he was the Christed one detract from the truth about the one called Jesus? No, not at all. There are many among us who have already accepted this 2,000-year-old truth, but know that the cycle of doubt versus truth is happening yet again. Yes, there are many who have inherited the heirloom of doubt from those who questioned Jesus on the hill. Their misgivings echo now as they did then. If you New Agers think you are messiahs with your I am God view, then perform a miracle for us, they say. I ask you, do you want to be one of those in Jesus' time, regarded by future generations as one of history's doubters? Well, your answer matters not, for no amount of doubt can take away the validity of the messiahship appearing now to enlighten you about your freedom, power, and oneness with God. The definition of free will. The human will regarded as free from restraints, compulsions, or any antecedent conditions, freedom of decision or choice. Earth is Spirit's neutral zone, and as one of its denizens, you have free will on a free will planet, able to opt for either love or fear with every choice you make. We both know that love is the choice you truly desire, but you must commit yourself more fully to it. You do that by doing even more intensive and extensive mind cleansing and more conscious, intentful soul searching. That is what will get you there. Let's go back to basics. For clarity about how you ended up where you are, it is time to check your origins and the many influences that you have had along the way. To learn about yourself on the physical level, you must go all the way back to your birthplace, and early environment. Recall your food intake, injuries that you've sustained, and illnesses that you've had throughout your childhood. To learn about yourself on a mental level, look at your family, religious instructors, peers, teachers, government, and the media, for they have instilled in you what they have thought was right and wrong, holy or blasphemous, real or illusion, possible or impossible. To learn about yourself on an emotional level, consider the hurt, the pain, and the fear that you have been through. Ask yourself, why did I choose to incarnate into that particular family in that particular place? What lessons did I come here to complete? Acknowledge how the tough love your parents meted out was not intended to abuse you, nor was it meant to leave you holding any emotional baggage. Instead, take into account how their discipline has been instrumental to your development. Take stock in what you are holding on to and rejoice in what you have released. Take an overview of your life, the gift of it, and the real gift of what you have gained by living it. See all these lessons and learn. To get to your spiritual roots, understand that your body is comprised of the same properties as the celestial bodies, your star parents. Begin to see yourself as a divine child enfolded by universal consciousness, coming into your purpose, your birthright, and divinity. Look in, out, and all about. See God. Be God. It would be very beneficial if you see humanity as characters who have come here to act out roles on Earth's great stage of duality. Even though many of us do not remember coming here and choosing this life, long before we all incarnated, we have collectively decided how long we were willing to play our parts in the Earth experiment. We agreed that when the clock ran out, whatever level of consciousness we had achieved would be the determining factor for the world's fate. Why don't we remember? Well, that's the only way that all our choices can be unbiased ones. I just wish I could have known sooner, you may say. It does not matter whether you knew or not. Your next level will happen regardless. What is important is that you have the time of your life while you are here. Ask questions of yourself, big questions, and how sincere you are in asking those questions will determine how profound your answers will be. Ask questions like, who am I? Why am I here? Why do things happen to me the way they do? What does all of this mean? But no matter the question, if you ask it with all of your heart, the door to the answer will swing open, revealing the I that you truly are, and then your life will be one of superior quality. The I within you is subtler than you might realize, and sometimes you may try so hard to experience it that you overshoot your target. What you are looking for lies in wait just behind the mask of what you know as you. To merge with it, just relax into it. You will know you are there when you recognize how very much you have let yourself become a slave to your own thoughts and feelings. Try this. Turn some music on that moves you and get lost in it. When you do, check to see if you are listening with just your ears. And if you catch yourself doing that, try to listen from the soul. The music will take on a different tone. It will take on a different timbre. It will sound very, very different to you. And the part that is doing that listening, that's the part of you that has always been aware. I know that it may sometimes get quite hectic for you, but even your irritation is purposeful on the spiritual road to perfection. If you want to experience your higher self, the I, on a day-to-day basis, you have to begin to change your I perspective. Claiming you are this and you are that, trying to be something, just anything, all the while harboring great hopes of discovering who you really are, is not the way. We have no trouble saying I, but we have so much trouble experiencing our own authenticity. What will help you is when you begin to change your internal dialogue about who and what you think you are. It does not help you one iota to say things like, I am angry, I am mad, I am sick, I am content, I am bored, I am alone, I am poor, I am afraid. Often we so easily overlook our true self, and that is the cause of our difficulty. Understand that you are not the feelings that flood your emotional system, nor are you the thoughts that overwhelm your mind. And if you did the listening to the music exercise correctly, you would have realized that you are the silent witness, observing the whole drama as it unfolds before you. But the problem is that the ego is not so silent. It wants to be the director and continue to dictate to you exactly what it thinks you are, should be, and should do. The confusion it engenders often pulls you into life's dramatic movie even further, convincing you that whatever you're experiencing is real. No wonder the life you're living seems to be the same old thing over and over again if this applies to you. You see, when you make judgments based solely upon past experiences, you leave no room for something new. You may be one who asks such questions like, what about me? When is it going to be my turn? Well, this body, this life are all for you, the real you. Now go and live your purpose. Now it is your turn.
Welcome back to Center Life Foundation. We are the tribe, we are the nation. Jesus, dear Lord, baby Jesus, take the wheel. I can't deal with this any longer. Fantastic. You're supplementing, beseeching, asking questions, wanting something greater. Again, if you pray to any deity with no self-responsibility, you can expect your supplication to be denied. It's the way of the universe. It's the way of everything that is anything at all forever. It's always about self-fulfillment, self-empowerment. AAA insurance, assurance. AAA, acceptance, allowance, and appreciation of all people. That is when we truly surrender to the Lord. Jesus, take the wheel. And it's not Jesus take the wheel. It's Christ take the wheel. And as I said earlier, there is a difference between Jesus and the Christ. The Christ is not Jesus. That would take a 6 foot, however tall he was, man, and confine the infinity and the majesty of Christ, which not only holds all things together, but forever. And putting it into a 6 foot tall container. Jesus became the infinite Christ. This is correct perception. And you deserve that. I do have another audio segment for you. This is going to last a bit. If you truly hear to experience something beyond what you may have known in your beautiful celebration of your Lord, whichever one that may be, wait and see. I want to offer you something before I go into that next presentation. This guy is a Jesus freak. I get my freak on about some baby Jesus, trust me. So much so, I feel it gives me the license to speak not my mind, my heart. I don't do Jesus on Sunday. I do Jesus Monday through Sunday, or rather, whatever the beginning of the week is. They say there's an argument between Monday or Sunday. And the Sabbath is not on Sunday. The Sabbath is Saturday. This is about a lifting up of the world, not a religion, not a dogma, an indoctrination. Let me ask you this question. Let me reveal something to you that will move you. You ready to be moved? I like being moved around by the finger of God. Even a rod, dear Lord, poke and or prod me to do your will. Let me present two things to you. This is not whatsoever about using or taking out the beauty of Bible. That's not what this is at all. But a reinforcement about what happened at the Council of Nicaea in the late 300s. Look it up. In fact, in the Catholic doctrine, which I grew up in, because I was going to be a Catholic priest. In the Catholic doctrine, there is a prayer called the Nicene Creed. Look that up as well. So this event in the late 300s took place. The 2 points I want to bring up, I want you to take an inventory of yourself right here in this moment. Nice music, right? I feel good. I'm hanging out with some cosmic siblings in this forum with this good-looking guy. I feel good. Life is beautiful. Take a breath and feel that. How does it feel to be you? I feel pretty damn good. Good. So let me ask you, or present to you 2 things. To hope reveal 2 things about the Council of Nicaea and their agenda. They took out reincarnation. They took out this, that, and the other. All that being said, what are those 2 things? 1, if Bible manifested itself in the Middle East, I'm asking a very simple question. How can they be the names of the Bible, like Timothy, Mark, Matthew, John, Luke, Ruth? These are all American Western names. I'm asking a simple question. How did these American names end up in the Middle East? When Jesus' real name was Yeshua ben Joseph. Ben Joseph meaning family of, I think. How does Paul, when my first cousin's name is Paul, ends up in the Middle East 2,000 plus years ago? Just a question. So it was obviously made for the American mindset, or a different mindset. Some things would change. Maybe change simply because they won't understand the names that we could bring forth. So let's use something common. I'll give it that. But I also want to read you. In fact, I'm going to drop it right here on the screen, if I can. See if it works. No, it won't work. There is a meme out there, again, to support the Council of Nicaea. It did exist. It did happen. Again, they were convinced to believe that this was to give you your holy book. Well, it was definitely to do that, but removed the Apocrypha, the books that didn't make it because you showed up too late. The seats are filled. We can't let anybody in. The fire law, the fire marshal code says you can't come in. Building capacity 152. Sort of thing. Here's this me. As you took this inventory about at least asking yourself the question, how did all these Middle Eastern names 2,000 years ago shown up as all these Western surnames or these Western names? Simply, and that's something a little, maybe for our own benefit because we simply didn't understand the tongue. I don't think so. King James had nothing good in heart. So here's this meme from certain Christian sects or certain sects of any religion that might use their deity to fudge and or manipulate and or not accept, allow, and appreciate AAA insurance. Jesus, take the wheel. How does this make you feel? It's a picture of Jesus standing at a door, knocking on it, right? And this is what it says. Jesus says, "Let me in." And the people inside says, "Why?" Jesus responds, "So I can save you." And someone from inside says, "From what?" And Jesus' supposed response is, "From what I am going to do to you if you do not let me in. That's scary shit. I grew up in this nonsense until some years ago. Let me in. Why? So I can save you. From what? From what I'm going to do to you if you do not let me in. That does not sound like true Christianity to me whatsoever. Never, ever, ever shall I believe in such foolish nonsense. That the Savior of all of us, potentially, if we try to save ourselves first, then we get the hand up from the Lord itself, which is not Jesus, it's the Christ. And Jesus is in there, just like you and I are all in there. Video number 2, about the poison, the tainting, the desainting of true Christianity. It turned into such petri dish vanity. I love me some baby Jesus. This is going to be about 20 minutes. Enjoy it. It is my heart, and from my heart to yours.
Maybe you are one who your whole life you have heard people opine that God is a hammer-wielding God who punishes anyone that dies with sin. Allow me to clear this up. Sin is not something that requires punishment. It is simply a miscalculation that must be learned from and corrected so that you can release yourself from the karma you may have been bound to, and so you can put yourself back on the track to spirit. Many have bought into this concept, and since guilt is all they have known, they have remained in that mindset, all the while revering those who have achieved conscious perfection. The fact is that we can become just like them, but our fear, our feelings of inferiority, and our sheer laziness have kept us from it. Now, as you are eagerly learning about and from the perfect ones who preceded you, you see how much challenging work lies ahead, the concentrated effort you will need to exert in order to detach from worshiping the worldly things that most have grown accustomed to. The perfect ones are not alone in their ability to accomplish such a state of consciousness. You, yourself, a perfect one in waiting, can get there too by exercising your free will to live righteously, choice by choice, thought by thought, feeling by feeling, deed by deed, and day by day. If you keep on living the other way, you are merely passing time and keeping yourself away from the divine life that is rightfully yours. It is not a sin to be born human. It is a privilege. Let me say that again. It is not a sin to be born human. It is a privilege. But you can bet that people who believe it is a sin are the same people who have no sense of the self, who expect some kind of leniency from a judgmental God when they die. We do not need God to judge and punish us for what we do. We have already assumed that position ourselves, error by error, excuse by excuse, judgment by judgment, lifetime by lifetime. We must understand Spirit lies within us and is willing to help us with our judgmental thoughts and feelings that we have acted upon and the dreadful effects they have had on us. You yourself know the inner conflict that comes when you live with what you've been taught and believe to be true and are presented with the real truth and must decide how to handle it. What many of us do not know how to do is live without judgment. I can think of no better way to help you stop judging yourself than to show you how. First, let me ask you, why would God take anything away from you that you want and choose? What needs calibration is the way you see things. Almost everyone imposes right, wrong, good, bad limitations, and because of them, you have created a God in your own image, contriving that God is like you, but a million times more so. When someone regards God as unconditional in one moment and judgmental the next, no wonder they are confused. Maybe you have questioned some of religion's precepts most of your life. They don't just make sense to you, right? Especially the one that proclaims that when you die, God will be there to judge you and will be judgmental in his judgment. But why would anyone not think they stand before God right now? maybe out of ignorance, from still thinking and believing that God is out there and not here inside, or because you don't want to feel that you are responsible for your actions until the very day you die. Know what? Both are true. Some people do not yet understand the omnipresence of God. Others feel that they can just keep buying time until that day, and then they'll deal with it then. But the deleterious effects of such self-judgment are happening here and now. But won't some people always believe that God will condemn them? Yes, but if they just take the time to meditate on that belief of theirs, their soul will undoubtedly send them a message of assurance that God would not do such a thing. Several times, when I have questioned the possibility of such punishment, I have been overcome by a feeling of reassurance, and suddenly, that punishment concept, it just didn't hold up. It just dissipated into the nothingness where I plucked it from. So you see, when we let spirit in, it cannot hold up. It's an illusion. It's like a castle in the air. But for the many who cannot yet hear their souls whisper, life can be a never-ending mental tug-of-war. So what's their problem? They are still too wobbly. They keep on doing the back and forth mind dance, trying to figure out what to do about their troubles. That prevents them from being in the moment and in the stillness of God. If they would only take that brave dive into their hearts, they would be able to bypass their minds and eventually expose themselves to the unwavering truth that would make them as solid as a rock. You see, truth needs no crutch, no explanation. Truth does not judge. It simply sits everywhere, waiting patiently to be recognized. Is it still challenging for you to not use judgment? When you find yourself judging, notice how it keeps you in separation mode between what is right, good, and what is wrong, bad. And notice how it makes you want to turn away from what you see as the supposed evil. That is the relative mind at work, and a fear-based one it is. Goods, bads, rights, and wrongs vary from person to person. Yet each person arrogantly insists on basking in their rightness while they belittle others for their perceived wrongness. Well, I've done that many times myself. But if the universe's foundation were built upon judgment, it would be in the same pickle that many find themselves in on the earth plane. Indeed, if judgment were God's modus operandi, anyone and anything not to spirit's liking would be wiped out. People who believe in judging think that God will deal with them in the same way that they think they must deal with others. No wonder many have so little passion to be with God. And I don't blame them. Who in the world would want to get next to a God that judges then condemns? I wouldn't, and I'm sure you wouldn't either. But people who do believe that way find themselves in a catch-22. That is, they love God and want to love Him more, but still they are afraid. Deep down, they sense that God is not judgmental, but what is stored in their gray matter tells them differently. They are confused about what to do and what not to do in their search for peace and fulfillment, in their search for God. The fear and judgment that many people harbor is undeniable evidence that they are still operating out of their heads, operating on what they believe to be true. It is this kind of imprint that keeps you from knowing God as the landlord of your heart. Am I correct in saying each time you are confused, it is because you are uncertain as to which choice holds the treasure you desire? Have you not figured out that that back and forth pressure is what creates those excruciating headaches? All that teeter-tottering and all you have to show for it are impermanent results, when what you are really trying to accomplish is a permanent fix. Illogical as this may sound, the trick you must master is to raise your consciousness down from your mind and up to your heart. For there is no conflict that exists, only the firm foundation on which you can build a more peaceful life. To hone in on the heart, you must be aware of your ego and what it wants from you. Or rather, you must be cognizant of what you want from others. To take, not give, and be willing to change that. Can you see how simply falling into the heart will benefit you? If you can do so, and I know you can, that permanent fix you have been searching for will be yours at last, a life of love for the rest of your days. So when does the ego kick into gear? The ego is born when we are very young. From the time we are told no repeatedly, we begin to separate from the grand scheme of things. As we continue to develop, the ego becomes more demanding, defining each of us. The children turn adolescents as singular, separate. Our egos are thus set in stone until you begin to do extensive and intensive spiritual work to begin to dislodge that so that the current of spirit, the flow of spirit, can wash that away. But it poses quite a challenge with the familial, religious, governmental noise that runs rampant inside everyone's head. We're almost bound to be bound in judgment. That's why we feel so tied up. And to further compound the issue, some preachers teach that God is something other than you and thus misguide their flocks. You know, I consider myself to be a Christian. I consider myself to be a Buddhist. I consider myself to be a Muslim. I consider myself to be all of them or none of them. But as beautiful as Christianity is to me, I get a very weird feeling whenever I hear someone tell me that everything one needs to know about God is in the Bible. Is this true? Well, my question to you is, what do you think? I think not. I don't think God can be compressed into 1,500 or so pages of any book. Besides, there are other books containing spiritual roadmaps from masters of other religions who have incarnated all over the world throughout history. What people need to understand is that there is far more to God than the ink, paper, and concepts in any book. The truth is, God is more the energy of any given book that purports to teach about Him. I say it is not wise for anyone to live his or her life by a book, including this one. One should search for truth or God wherever one must, under a rock if need be, for God is everywhere, and all it takes to find God is the desire to do so. At this point in the divine principle, I asked Spirit, are all scriptural books filled with truth? And the reply, some are not as complete as others, but for the most part, yes. When you feel no fear in your mind and body, when your heart sings, you will know you have found some truth. This brings us to a very important question. Since the Bible is based on truth, are the prophecies foretold in Revelation going to come true? Any prophecy in the Bible that has been and might be fulfilled, whether positive or negative, is not necessarily the vision of the prophet alone, but is shared by the many who believe it will come to pass. Those who are locked into believing that a prophet is right form a mass conscious power that will support them in their convictions. Now, this would be great if the particular vision they share has a positive outcome, but what about one with a negative outcome? Do you want the prophet to be right about that too? No, you don't. So what do we all do about that? We stop believing that any prophet knew or knows more than we do. All they have seen is where we are likely to be at some point in time or space. Hear me when I say that the God that lived or lives in them and has enabled them to see is the same God that lives in you and enables you to see differently. Does God encourage the reading of any particular holy book? Why not be well-rounded? If you are seeking God, why not jump into the hunt with everything you have? Because simply reading is not enough. It can never be enough. For what good does reading spiritual writings do if you do not experience what you have read about? Whoever remains a dabbler will never believe that God's reality is obtainable. People should be very selective about where they go for spiritual sustenance. You see, there are some clergy who would never change their views about the devil subject. Why is that? Because the way they perceive God is the way they are most comfortable with. And they do not want to go through all that stuff that they would have to come to another conclusion. These kinds of preachers can be harmful to one's growth, especially that of young people. If you see children or adolescents at a church where such a one preaches, it is very likely they were dragged there, or at least resistant to the idea of going. That is because in their innocence, it hurts them when they hear anything such as God is vengeful, God is jealous, God is judgmental. You are forever going to burn in hell when you die if you do something wrong. But still, they are forced to listen to the separation and punishment proselytizing until they too become hypnotized and join the rest of the congregation in spiritual bereftness. There is no other way to say it. Many of the churches have become the petri dishes where the metaculture of fear is grown and disseminated. Thus, generation after generation, the fear of God has spread like a virus through everyone in these congregations. And that has resulted in ongoing separation and judgment. But even in churches where ministers teach unity with God, there are some in the assembly who have not yet accepted such a concept. Yes, it can be tough for truth ministers to undo the separation imprint that has been pounded into people's heads for years. As long as people remain in such a powerless, power-sapping mindset, imploring a deity to remove their problems will do them no good whatsoever. Understand that spiritual beings are ready and willing to help everyone, but when you pray with no self-responsibility, you can bet that your supplication will be denied. I can tell you that spiritual masters will not take on your responsibilities. What they will do is help you to become divinely empowered by moving you through the feeling that you are weak and inferior to their achievements. And they burn with the passion to ignite the holy fire within all of us so that we can all become God with them. This is not blasphemy. This is the truth. And the truth will set you free. What do I mean by truth? That you are God. And once you believe this, you will have the key to your own freedom. Any fear of God you have is a fear of your own self, and that fear will exist as long as you see yourself as separate. I have just shared with you the ultimate secret that many have sought the answer to throughout the ages. The question is, from this point forward, what will you do with it? I hope that you integrate this secret until you become fully conscious of it. That would be a good idea. Are you ready to go for it? And I hope that you are affirming, ready and willing. So do you understand my point that your fear has been a mirror reflecting to you your spiritual status? Let me ask you, at this moment, now that you are beginning to consciously connect with God, what is showing up in your life? Is it more grace, joy, love, prosperity than before, and many opportunities to live blissfully? It is for me, speaking for myself, walking this particular path that was introduced to me years ago. I can tell you that my life, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, has unfolded into itself of this miraculous experience. And if you are seeing such events in your life show up for you, the joy, the peace, the prosperity, windows of opportunity, then you are finally allowing yourself to live. If you are listening to this audio program, like me, you have indeed come a very long way. And there is no coincidence that you are listening to my voice. You have attracted, you have created, you have brought this into your life. But I am sure there was a time in your life when the world seemed to be a very tough place to be in. And once you stepped into it, you stepped into a reality that was based upon your own ideas. You have already determined how the world was going to be, and so it was. Everything you believed was going to happen, happened. Your fright, fight, flight response seemed to be appropriate for your security and survival back then because you felt you needed some sort of refuge to fall back on. But such a posture created lessons and karma that had to be transcended before you can get on with your spiritual growth. Now, we have all come to the time when our fear can be released for its ultimate expansion into love. By living in the present moment and letting go of how you think things are, by always being aware of what dynamic is moving within you, and by responding to everything around you with a loving attitude, you can come to realize peace. You already know the path. Just continue to walk it so that you can one day celebrate that you and God are one. Christ said, "I and my Father are one." John 10:30. The kingdom of God cometh not with observation. Luke 17:20. And here he goes to tell you exactly where it is. Neither shall they say, "Lo here," or "Lo there," for the kingdom of God is within you. Luke 17:21. I implore you to search for God not in the clouds or in the storybook place called heaven, but in the part of yourself that is beyond time, beyond books, and beyond words.
In a beautiful world, unconditional love would do the influencing, for it is the most effective way I know to create the peace that you seek.
When I was writing the divine principle at this particular part, I asked the question, do you support any particular cause or religion? Yes, I do. Which cause? Which religion? Love is my cause, and I do it religiously. I am not an ambassador for any religion, creed, code, or sect. I am much more than that. I help all of you to become better, be you Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, Jew, or whatever. This is the way I envisioned the world to be when I created it. I am amazed that people do not recognize how the religions sing the same love song to me, albeit with different words. It does not matter where or how you praise me, because to be perfectly honest, I do not need nor do I want your praise. What I want, if there is such a thing, is for you to cherish your own divinity, for that is what will bring the very enfoldment and unfoldment of heaven within you. Of course, many preachers would disagree, right? Well, there are those who judge the ones who teach this way as being cultic or satanic, all the while claiming to possess the truth themselves. But I repeat, if it preaches separation, a church is not feeding its flock the soul food it needs to flourish. It's not the religion that's doing the harm, it's the teaching of separation that does the damage. Any religious faith is valid as long as it does not extinguish the fire of unity. One more thing, people call church the Lord's house, but this is not so. God does not dwell in a church if you're not there. God dwells within you wherever you are. So, you are the church. The church ideally represents you, a solid structure and a true temple of God. You may have a concern that someone close to you will get a copy of the divine principle and play it and question you and your beliefs and what is it you're doing and what are you into, and then they may run straight to their religious leader and ask them for answers. I wholeheartedly recommend this, because if someone attends a church that advocates fear and separation, they can see for themselves what they have been a part of. People have the right to question any church's motives if everything is God is not its mission statement. Some clergy may attempt to convince those questioners that this book is a false testament and then try to reinforce the idea that God is something to fear. To them I entreat, how can an unconditional God be the icon of fear? For God is love in its totality, complete unto itself, afraid of nothing, extending love and grace from itself to all for all. Some churches, even the one you may have been raised in, have painted a picture of what they believe God to be. And up until recently, maybe you yourself clung to and believe what you have learned early on, thus making it true for you. Maybe now you know that everything you were taught ain't necessarily so. And maybe you are beginning to see that there are always more aspects of truth to be revealed, and they come in ways you cannot imagine. So why does truth show up when you least expect it, and why is it so elusive? To keep you out of systematic belief and in expansion mode. Do you want to know how to get to it? Open your mind, open your heart, open yourself up to God, and trust that you are part of all that is. Trust in your own ability to create a joyous, abundant life. Trust God in you, for God has given you the precious life and the very air that you breathe. Your daunting task now is to move through what has brought about your confusion, chaos, and sickness, guilt, anger, and fear. For the longer they stick around, the longer your conscious connection to the soul will remain severed. It's your free will that creates your life, and as you are created in God's image, your reality is certain to manifest.
Welcome back to Center of Light Foundation. Never forget, dear Lord, cosmic sibling, we're the tribe. We are the freaking nation of light. Thank you for joining me on this beautiful sacred night. Triple A, Jesus take the wheel. What is triple A? Triple, it's a Trinity. Acceptance, allowance, and appreciation of all people. even if they are so not like you. That's the joy, that's the miracle, that is the magic and the diversity of Christ. That Jesus said, follow me through the door. My dear Lord, Christianity is more beautiful than most people have ever thought to take it or to celebrate it. Rather, I'm going to leave you in this way. I will never leave you, as I hope you never leave me, with a few beautiful thoughts. You have been born in the most precious time of forever. Oh my God. You have no idea, or do you, of how beautiful you actually are. How sacred and important you are. Always have been. Without purpose, man does not live well. Purpose is the reason for anything. It is the force that drives everything. How to transform the ego. When you use the ego to help others, your ego is transformed simply into purpose. I'm an individual, I'm special, and I use my special gifts to help others. It becomes a marriage into the spirit. Do you hear it? I heard it. For without ego can there be no purpose. So the ego has a very valuable role. Jack Talcott. What are you not aware of? Simply, it's rhetorical. Ask yourself this in a rhetorical way without trying to answer it. It's the lingering that creates the result you want as a rebirth of the Christ within you. What is it you are not aware of? What is it I am not aware of? What have you not learned? What do you not know? How do you not know? Why do you not know? Being of service. Om Sri Sadam Guru Devadatta. Love all, serve all. To what religion does this not ascribe? Oh my God. Being of service. Without food, there is no life. Without shelter, there is no comfort. Without proper education, there is no point. Without purpose, one can never be born. God's face will become visible as we all unite. But we have to unite first. Then, when all of the little moving parts, people, get into alignment with their passion, that is when the well-greased divine purpose wheel will turn perpetually, as the earth does, on the earth as it is. Many spiritualists will say, you shouldn't try to save the world, but save yourself. And I say, incorrect. We can all use more practicing to save ourselves, but many people don't know how to do that. Well, help other people, and in doing so, you become lit. In this way, two things become affected directly, you and them. That one thing you do very well, that talent of yours, that God-given gift, use that to lift other people. Then you will consciously align yourself with the source of creation and the fulfillment of your greatest purpose. You can call it reaching your highest potential through service. That is not only your calling, but it's God's calling to everyone on the planet. Dear Lord, if you are judging and or poking at other people for your own entertainment, what are you doing? That post I read you earlier from a friend of mine. I love my beautiful friend, but it hit me so incorrectly. It's not unloving to say, Jesus is the only way, it is unloving to say that there is another way that is so off-point, off-putting, off to me. So how do we get back into the garden? We love everyone, AAA, accept, allow, and appreciate, is when we truly surrender to Jesus, take the wheel, versus Jesus, take this from me because I can't bear it. Share it. The most important thing you take from this presentation is your liberation is afoot. And you deserve that. You've been doing this dance for eons. Jesus is not apart from you, nor superior to you. I am in my Father's in me, and I am in you. It's all in you. You are his cosmic sibling. The Christ is not a his or her. It's more of an it. Jesus became the divine Father and the divine Mother. The divine Father, all those godly, manly, masculine principles. But the feminine qualities of love, nurturing, caring, hanging out with the sick, that's where we all get illuminated quick. I love you beyond measure. You are the treasure you have been looking for. And I so adore you. And I implore you,